Hello, everyone, or anyone. Welcome to the channel. I just thought I'd pop on and do a little live lunchtime video to go through some of the latest news and views and opinions and rumors and transfer talk. I haven't done a live for a few days. Thought I'd jump on with you guys. Make sure you get in the comments. Please do ask any questions you have whatsoever. And the plan is to kind of go through the last couple of days as Tottenham transfer news and all the other news and talk about it with you guys, really, more than anything. Obviously, the last live I did was the very sad news at the end of last week about Diogo Jota. Jumped on there. It was good to talk to all of you guys, but yeah, let's get back to the Tottenham way of life. And of course, over the weekend, Thomas Frank took his first training sessions. I'm sure you've seen some of the social media videos from that. All the players doing their kind of usual first day medical tests. They always put that out, don't they? First day of every preseason, they always put it out as a video, the medical tests. And I guess they realize, the social media team, they realize that we are starved of Tottenham content, or official Tottenham content anyway. And so they're like, what these fans will want to see is Jed Spence lifting his thigh as hard as he can against a machine. And then telling us, and that was quite funny, to be fair, Jed Spence saying that he broke the machine. I like Jed Spence. Be really interesting, I think, to see what happens with Jed Spence and Thomas Frank this season. Jed Spence really strikes me as a player who just needs an arm around him all the time and almost needs to feel like he's one of the first names on the team sheet. And Thomas Frank can do that. He's definitely like a arm around the shoulder type manager, but also I don't think he'll take any fools gladly. And if Spence starts throwing his toys out the pram because he's not in the first team, and realistically, he's got a hard fight on his hands to get in the first team with Porro and Udogie in front of him, and also a lot of rumors suggesting that we're going to try and get another fullback in. So I think it'll be really interesting to see what happens with old Jed. But I don't think personally that Spurs would be able to easily go out and get a player of Jed Spence's quality for the amount of money that we would probably be able to sell him for. And therefore, I don't think there should be any point in us looking to sell him anytime soon, and really just get the new management team and everyone in the club to make Jed Spence feel like a very, very important part of Tottenham Hotspur at the moment. And look, if Jed Spence tries hard in pre-season and shows his quality, then maybe Thomas Frank will like his physicality at right back. Maybe he'll like his ability to defend as well as he does attack. Whereas obviously Pedro Porro is a far more gifted forward player in the kind of in the attacking half of the pitch than he is in the defensive half. Sorry, I'm just checking to see if there's any. If there's any news coming in, just checking tweets. All right, guys, thank you for quite a few of you in the comments already. Let's get going with the first bit of news. Kota Takai has been officially announced this morning as a Tottenham Hotspur player, and the club said this: "We're delighted to announce the signing of Kota Takai from J1 League side Kawasaki Frontale, subject to international clearance and work permit." And actually, I think I saw that Takai did a little video, didn't he? Let's see if I can find exactly what his quotes were. Takai, because he's talked a little bit about his excitement at being a Tottenham Hotspur player. Yeah, he said this. Takai said this: "My position is centre back. I can play either right side or left. I played in the match with Kawasaki Frontale in the J-League on Saturday, and I got on the plane the next day, and I'm here today now. Having arrived in London, I'm full of excitement. The J-League has very high intensity, and its level is high. I won the Young Player Award last year, and I was very happy. I joined the Japanese national team. It was always my dream. I remember I had goosebumps when I went on the pitch for the first time as part of the national team. I've always watched the Premier League a lot since I was little. At Spurs, my first aim is to be on the pitch for a match and do my best. I was born in Kanagawa, Japan. I've always played football since my childhood. The reason why I love football is because as a team, we can improve our skills together." saying the right things there. Code to Takai. And officially, Tottenham Hotspur's first summer signing. Some of you might say, oh, well, we've got Luka Vuskovic through the door, but actually he has been signed by Tottenham for the last. He was signed 2 summers ago and has been out on loan because of visa requirements. So Code to Takai, officially our first signing. Let me see what you guys are saying in the comments. I'm going to talk about Jack Grealish in a minute. Just mentioned Jota, didn't I? Gary Mold says Oasis did a lovely tribute to Jota during Live Forever. I saw that, actually. I wasn't at any of the Oasis gigs. The reason I wasn't at the Oasis gigs, even though Oasis were a big part of my childhood, is I went to an Oasis gig at Finsbury Park back in their kind of previous iteration, and being at an Oasis gig back then was not a lovely place to be, just full of people throwing bottles of piss left, right, and center. And I just had a bit of a fear for the Oasis gigs, as much as I would have liked to have been there for the kind of music and the reminiscence. I just have a fear that it's going to be like, in the most part, there's a mix, isn't there? Because Oasis have got big with kind of younger fans as well now. But I think in the most part, it'll be a lot of kind of 50-something-year-old men's kind of annual day out and finding ways to misbehave in many different manners. So that's how I feel. Nick in Hong Kong says, "G'day, Barnaby. Signing a Premier League proficient and ready player is a must." I think we are looking at that. I'll talk a little bit about Kudus in a second. And Steve Barrow, I was talking about Jed Spencer's. With his pace, can Spence play on the wing? Well, listen, I think it's really easy for fans. We all do this quite regularly. I think it's quite easy to say, oh, look, if we've got 2 players vying for the same position, why can't we just push one forward? So in this instance, Porro plays right back and Spence plays right wing. I think he did play on the right wing for maybe like 30 minutes in one game, but he has not really in his career played on the right wing. And all of these positions, especially in the Premier League at the elite level, are absolutely specialist. And therefore, I think Jed Spence has found his way to right back because that is where he is most suited and where he's most gifted. So I just don't think it's quite as simple as that, unfortunately. Just getting some abuse here. This is funny. Prima Italia. Hi, Barnaby. Had a horrible weekend and watched your Zubamendi will go to Real Madrid short to make me feel better. Hilarious and embarrassing. Yeah, on TikTok, I'm a little more risky on TikTok and just say stuff in the most part to try and wind up Arsenal fans. And by God, does it work? Oh my God, it worked. Arsenal fans on TikTok, you cannot stop them from biting at you, and it's hilarious. On YouTube, I like to be pretty authentic, mainly talk about Spurs and stuff like that. But on TikTok, it's like, yeah, you just go for those fans who love to go and meme Spurs. I go for them back. So let's see. Sal here says, I assume you're talking about Spence. I wouldn't be surprised if Frank uses him as a holding defensive midfielder. I would be very surprised if that happened, Sal, but thank you so much for your comments. Okay, Mohammed Kudus, according to reports yesterday, rejected a late approach from Bayern Munich because he is set on completing a move to Tottenham Hotspur. Kudus has informed West Ham he is only focused on signing for Spurs. If there's some truth to that report, then I am here for it, Mohammed Kudus. But as I actually said on a TikTok video yesterday, Daniel Levy, once again, finding a way to just kind of get himself memed with, I'm sure you saw, and I think I said in my video yesterday, these reports that Daniel Levy has put a couple of, bonus clauses on the deal that he wants from Mohammed Kudus, which says that West Ham would only get paid these sums of money if Spurs won the Champions League or the Premier League. Now, look, having played Football Manager and Championship Manager all my life, that is something that you do naturally. But also, I think, don't be surprised if you're trying to buy one of your rivals' best players and they leak it to the press to try and embarrass you. There are reasons why West Ham, Chelsea, and Arsenal do not deal with Daniel Levy, and this is why. Because, he puts in these sums of money that are basically unachievable. I think he's just going to have to up his offer to £60 million pretty much straight down the line to get Kudus. And if he doesn't, then we're going to miss out on Kudus. So really, the quicker you can do it, Daniel, the better, as far as I'm concerned. That's how I feel about it. Some more reports yesterday that Spurs are in the hunt for Ademola Lookman alongside Aston Villa as his club Atalanta demand a price between 45 and 60 million euros for the now 27-year-old striker. The Nigerian international has had another productive season at Atalanta, contributing to 27 goals and assists last season. Now, Ademola Lookman has certainly had a real resurgence to his career in Italy. He won the best player in the Europa League when Atalanta won it a couple of years ago, and he's made a lot of assists and scored a lot of goals for that club. However, he has played Premier League football before, and for me has always looked a little bit short of the physicality required in the Premier League to play as a number 9 and score lots of goals. I could easily be wrong, and I'd love to be proven wrong if Tottenham did try and get him in as a rotation option with Dominic Solanke. But at 27 years old, to pay kind of 60 million euros for him, 50 million pounds, I think that would be a little bit dangerous personally. I'm not sure that would be the right way for Spurs to go. And it doesn't surprise me at all that these kind of leaks are coming out, because I imagine Atalanta, who also have obviously Edison on their books with a lot of Premier League clubs sniffing around him, might be looking to make a little bit of money out of Lookman. He is undoubtedly a good player. One thing I will say is his confidence will have risen since he played in the Premier League. Who did he play for in the Premier League? Who has he played for before? Let me know in the comments. But, his confidence will definitely have risen since he left the Premier League and has become like the main man at a club like Atalanta. But, is he the man to come in and definitely kind of take the weight off Dominic Solanke? I'm a little less sure about it. But who knows? Let's see. Okay, just a little comment here from John Trim. Thank you. He says, hi, Barnaby. I'm so surprised as to why Spurs have never thought about playing Romero in the holding midfielder role in the same way as Pochettino played Dyer. Romero would make us a very tough side to break down, I assume is what you're trying to write there. Oh, yeah, you're all telling me that Ademola Lookman played for Fulham. That's right. And Everton for a while. That's right. Was that on loan at Everton, maybe? I remember, was it for Fulham? For one of those clubs, he tried a Panenka penalty, and it just totally embarrassed himself, I remember. But anyway, yes, John Trim, thank you for your comment. I think Christian Romero is just such a good centre-back, ball-playing centre-back, and that is where his instincts are. He's brilliant, Romero, and underrated at reading the game. That is where Christian Romero really comes into his own. Reading the game, seeing what's going to happen next, nicking in ahead of defenders, anticipating and taking the ball off the opposition. And of course, brilliant in 50-50s as well. I also don't think Spurs at the moment, and we're yet to see how Takai or Vuskovic play, I don't think we have the replacement for Romero to then push Romero forward. And then the other thing about central midfield, I think it's really important to remember, is that some players are good at taking the ball on the half turn and others aren't. And I think with Romero, and kind of similar to what we've seen a little bit with Archie Gray, although Archie Gray is obviously a lot younger, I think Romero probably is, well, definitely is most comfortable when he's got the whole pitch in front of him. He can see absolutely everything, and he's got the ball at his feet. And I just fear if you put him in the defensive midfield role where, sure, when we have the ball, sometimes he would slot in between the two centre halves, but at other times he would have to come in that number 6 role to get the ball off his goalkeeper on the half turn. And in reality, I just think that might not be in his skill set. So I think that's probably why that hasn't been tried as yet. Godfrey Drummond says, hi, Barnaby. Congratulations on the nominations and awards in the Spurs YouTube's award show. I appreciate that, mate. Thank you very much. Yes. If you didn't see my video yesterday, I won an award and got some runners-up places in the Spurs Kings TV Tottenham YouTube Awards. I appreciate that. And guys, if you haven't already, I'd really appreciate it if you could go to the description box below on YouTube, click on the link for the Football Content Awards and give me a nomination for a couple of awards there. As I've described in the description box. Really appreciate that. Okay, let's get on to this Jack Grealish news, because a few of you are getting a bit upset about it. I think that's fair to say. Tottenham apparently showing interest in potentially signing Grealish this summer. City are prepared to sell the 29-year-old and set an asking price of £40 million for the player this window. Now, do I think it's likely Tottenham will spend £40 million on Jack Grealish? No, I don't. But do I think potentially, as the window goes further and further on and the Premier League starts up and maybe we're getting close to the deadline day, do I think potentially Tottenham might look at a loan deal for Jack Grealish to see if they could get the best out of him? Maybe. Maybe. The reason I say that is because Thomas Frank loves getting the ball in the box. And Jack Grealish is undoubtedly a player who could give us a different option on the left or potentially even in the 10 in terms of keeping hold of the ball, winning fouls. He is absolutely elite, Jack Grealish, at winning fouls off opposition. There's no player in the Premier League in the last 10 years I can think of, certainly of his kind of ilk. I know Doku wins a lot of fouls, but he just draws defenders in and then win fouls. And then if you think about Thomas Frank and how much he loves to get the ball in the box from set pieces, you could see why Jack Grealish would appeal to him on that basis. But I've said it before with Jack Grealish, and I'll say it again. I am wary of Tottenham bringing in players who have had their big move already and are on huge wages and would have to come and take a wage dip to play for Spurs, or at the very least, maybe Manchester City would have to pay half of his wages for him on our behalf. Would Jack Grealish have the motivation at Spurs? That's one worry I have. But on the flip side of that, it is a World Cup year. And maybe Jack Grealish would look at it and say, I've got one chance to play in one World Cup here. And if I can go to a club who will play me, then I would have a chance of getting in Thomas Tuchel's team. So there are possibilities, but a lot of you are not sure about it. Let's see. Jack Adams here says, Grealish, really? Surely our first signing should be a key player. Well, look, I have to say, if we got Jack Grealish in, I think he would be a key player, undoubtedly. I also think Jack Grealish could be, if he was really up for it, if he had a chat with Thomas Frank and showed, I've got the desire, I've got the motivation for this, he could be a really brilliant player morale-wise to have around the camp. That's for sure. So let's see. FFF says, so I think this is rubbish. Short arms, long pockets. Daniel Levy would never pay his wages. I think that's a fair point. But like I said, don't forget, we've had Emmanuel Adebayor from Manchester City before, and Manchester City paid half of his wages for us. I think they were paying 100 grand a week on our behalf for Emmanuel Adebayor back then. So there we go. Jack also says, what's the resale value, if any, in Grealish? That's why I think it would be a loan deal, to be totally honest. I do not think it would be a proper signing. And Meme Hook says, no chance Grealish. Frank doesn't like bellends. Listen, I don't think, I know Jack Grealish has a reputation as a kind of socialite. He has a reputation in his personal life. And that's one thing. But I don't think there have really been any managers who've come out during his professional career and said Jack Grealish is not a hard worker, or that Jack Grealish is not a good player to have around the camp. I just have never seen that. I think Jack Grealish has proved himself to be an elite footballer. He got a £100 million move to Manchester City, this player. Like, he's no joker. He's an incredibly talented player who, I think the problem has been at Man City that Pep Guardiola is so single-minded in terms of what those players have to do when the ball is in whichever area of the pitch, that Jack Grealish has had basically his maverick side of him kind of stunted out of him by Pep Guardiola. And it's not the first time Guardiola's done that. He did it to Thierry Henry at Barcelona. He did it to Zlatan Ibrahimovic at Barcelona. So, Grealish isn't the first kind of maverick genius player to have his magic kind of genius stripped off him by Pep Guardiola's single-mindedness. And I think Thomas Frank could potentially offer him something else. Listen, let's think about it this way. Thomas Frank at Brentford got the most out of Mikkel Damsgaard in the 10 position and basically gave him a free role. He played a double pivot behind him and said to Mikkel Damsgaard, you can pretty much go wherever you want. Now, we've got James Maddison, who I think will benefit from that, but James Maddison gets injured quite a lot. So I do think Tottenham will be looking, if they fill in their other gaps, which are clearly, they want a wide forward and they want a number 6, but if they fill those gaps in and then have some budget to spare, I think they would be looking for someone else to potentially play in that position because of the injury-prone nature of Maddison, and obviously Kulusevski's been pretty injured as well. So I wouldn't say there's no chance. I do think it's unlikely. I certainly think it's incredibly unlikely that Spurs would buy Grealish outright, but I think there is a chance that Grealish could come to Tottenham Hotspur on a loan. Let's see what happens. HD Sharp feels very strongly about it. Why do Spurs have a habit of buying deadwood? Grealish is a dead end. Please don't buy him. FFS. Do we have a habit of buying deadwood? I think it's more like, certainly in the last kind of 5 years, it's more like we've taken a punt on players who have not played in the Premier League and they have basically not been up to it. I'm thinking of Ndombele, Gio Lo Celso, who was a great player, Lo Celso, but just got injured far too much. I don't think we bought a lot of deadwood. Maybe a little bit under Mourinho and Conte and kind of Matt Doherty and even Perisic I can think of. But other than that, I think deadwood is a little bit strong. But let's see. And another angry man in capitals, talk Tottenham till I die. Why do you and everyone else keep putting up bullshit? Grealish 40 million. Stop putting up rubbish just for the sake of views, man. Okay, mate. I wouldn't overthink it too much and get yourself all stroppy in capitals. Don't get so angry about it. Listen, anything is a possibility in this transfer window, and you read reports, and it's worth. People want to talk about things. People want to debate possibilities. And that's what I would talk about if I was down the pub. And that's what I'm talking about here. But I appreciate you commenting, mate. JP Sports says, Jack Grealish, hard no. And I don't think he's Frank's type of character, to be honest. Well, that's similar to what I was saying earlier. I don't think personally that there's been a character issue with Jack Grealish in terms of his professionalism. Anyway. Okay, some more reports. Tottenham interested in signing Nice striker Evan Guesson and are now confident of getting the deal done for the 24-year-old. Ivorian international, 23 goal contributions last season, said to be available for just 20 to 25 million pounds. I mean, that remains to be seen. Let's see whether anything comes from that. Meme Hook. Okay, now I think Meme Hook is trying to talk about the deadwood a little bit here. Davids, Ziga, Redknapp, Poyet, Gallas. Tottenham are the big six bottom feeders. Grealish, fat at 29, is absolutely a Spurs signing. Deary me. Well, having this, I thought Edgar Davids was an important signing for the growth of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Christian Ziga scored an absolute banging free kick in the top corner against the old enemy, and for that, I don't care how injured he got. Apart from that, that was just worth it on his own. Jamie Redknapp, admittedly, was basically running through treacle his entire Spurs career. Poyet scored some important goals for Spurs. He was brilliant at popping up late in the box. And Gallas, well, that was just a classic Harry Redknapp signing. Didn't really have a problem with it at the time. Don't really have a problem with it in hindsight. So there we go. Let's see what else we've got here in the comments. Nick in Hong Kong says, saw Decky on the bike in the social media video of Tottenham training. That's right. Decky does seem to be a little bit ahead of schedule. Okay, Tottenham have not apparently received a new bid for Christian Romero from Atletico Madrid at this stage. Romero is due to return to Hotspur Way to begin his preseason later this week, along with the rest of the players who had international matches during the summer. Thomas Frank understood to be excited about the prospect of working with the Argentine. Listen, I think we all probably feel the same way about this in Romero. If Atletico Madrid are not able to pay the money to get one of the world's best centre-backs away from Tottenham Hotspur, then the reality is he's going to stay for this season. That's how it's going to be. If Atletico Madrid want him that badly, then they'll have to pay. And if Real Madrid had wanted him that badly, then they would have chosen to pay for him instead of Dean Howson from Bournemouth. So it's not simple. There are some reports I read yesterday that because Atletico Madrid... here it is. Because Atletico Madrid won't currently pay Tottenham's asking price of 70 million for Romero, they're hoping that his desire to join Diego Simeone at Atletico will impose itself and that he will force Spurs to lower their demands. So that's where we're at the moment. I think Alistair Gold mentioned in an article yesterday that it's a familiar situation. If you think about it, with Harry Kane was trying to do the same thing when he wanted his Man City move. But I'm afraid with Daniel Levy, if you want to get a player out who is one of Levy's and Tottenham's most important players, you have to pay the money or he will not go. Saw it all the way back with Berbatov. You saw it with Luka Modric. Luka Modric desperately wanted to go to Chelsea, basically went on strike. No, Levy said no, and then sold him for like £20 million cheaper the following season to Real Madrid. He didn't want him to go to Chelsea. So Atletico Madrid are just going to have to learn the hard way. One thing that could be interesting, when Fabio Paratici gets involved more, assuming he is going to come back in as sporting director, is there potentially a deal to be done with Atletico Madrid where somebody else from them could come the other way? Conor Gallagher, for one. Remember how interested Spurs were in Conor Gallagher, having run the data numbers over him. He wasn't a regular... He certainly wasn't a first name on the team sheet at Atletico. He did all right for Atletico last season. But is that something that Tottenham might look at, taking some money and Conor Gallagher from Atletico Madrid for Christian Romero? Remains to be seen. My instinct right now is that Romero will probably end up leaving for Atletico Madrid somewhere towards the end of this transfer window. But they will have to come up with a number that Levy will be happy with, and they will have to come up with some kind of deal. And if they don't, then he'll have to stay. One thing I would say, though, is does Christian Romero strike me as the kind of player who would play his absolute best football when he didn't want to be at a club? I'd have to say no. I would have to say no. Let's see what you guys are saying about it. Godfrey Drummond says, Alvarez, yes, please. I don't think that's going to happen. AJ Healy says, Levy will not fold on what he thinks is the price he wants. He never folds. He never folds on it. So that's just not going to happen. Wes Wheel says, Kane was near the end of his contract. I was talking about when Harry Kane wanted to go to Manchester City, and he wasn't near the end of his contract then. It was when he went to Bayern Munich a couple of seasons later that he was near the end of his contract. So, let's see what happens. And Wes Wheel, I was talking about Edgar Davids, says, nothing wrong with Davids. I loved it when he got booed when they opened the new Woolwich Stadium. Not that I'm saying that was a career highlight. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, some news obviously about a player who has been on our list for a long time, but it looks like we've kind of pulled away from now, is that Eberechi Eze, if he is to leave Crystal Palace, his preference is absolutely to join South Woolwich Arsenal, unfortunately. Okay, some more news today of an actual deal. Tottenham and Rosario Central have reached an agreement in principle for striker Alejo Valise. It is a loan without a purchase option, but Spurs will have the option to recall the player at the end of 2025. That is another kind of deal with Valise, really, where we took a punt on a player from South America. We hoped it would come off, and it didn't. A young player. He had some interesting elements to him. Seemed like a bit of a kind of runner, classic target man. I'm going to sneeze, I think. Excuse me. I knew it was coming. Hay fever. He was a workhorse. Liked a 50-50, but just he never seemed to have it. It's funny with signings, isn't it? You can obviously you assume and hope that these players have been scouted for a long time by Tottenham Hotspur, and then they come in and you feel like, I don't know if you guys feel the same at home, but I always feel like I can see within 5-10 minutes whether a player has got a chance. And with Valise, he just didn't seem to have it. Just didn't seem to kind of run in the right way. The movement wasn't quite there. So not surprised he's going back to Rosario Central. And hopefully he does well then. And then maybe Tottenham can get a fair bit of the transfer fee that they paid for him back. I think it was 9 million up front that they paid for Valise. Anyway, okay, some news on the staffing at Tottenham Hotspur. Following the recent appointment of Thomas Frank as our new head coach, we can confirm the full composition of our men's first team coaching staff ahead of the new season. Further to the previously announced arrivals of Justin Cochrane, Chris Haslam, Andreas Georgeson, and Joe Newton, we can confirm that Matty Wells will remain on the coaching staff as first team assistant coach. In addition, we welcome Cameron Campbell as first team individual development coach and Fabian Otter as first team goalkeeping coach. They arrived following spells at RB Leipzig and Liverpool, respectively. Furthermore, we're pleased to announce that Stuart Lewis and Dean Brill have been promoted into new roles from our academy. Stuart is now first team academy transition coach following 4 successful years leading the under-18s. As part of this new role, he will aid the development and integration of the young players into the senior setup. That's really important. I don't think we have been doing well enough. We did see some debuts in the Europa League for players last season, but other than Mikey Moore in the league, not many players have been coming through the academy. So having a transition coach, someone who really knows the players in the academy and can kind of be that middleman and mediator in between the academy and Thomas Frank, I think will be helpful. Dean becomes first-team assistant goalkeeping coach, having previously worked as head of academy goalkeeping. Finally, we can announce that Rob Birch, the goalkeeping coach, has left the club, a former player and coach in our academy. Rob returned in 2023. We thank him for his service and wish him well for the future. A member of the Spurs family, he'll always be welcome at the club. There's also been reports today of a shake-up in the medical department. Ali Gold says he understands that both the Director of Performance Services, Adam Brett, and Head of Sports Science, Nick Davies, have left the club. And Jay Harris from The View from the Lane, make sure you listen to that if you don't already, says Nick Stubbings has also left Brentford to become medical lead at Spurs. So the actual number of staff who have followed Thomas Frank from Brentford is 5. Stubbings, Tom Perryman, Justin Cochrane, Chris Haslam, and Joe Newton. So, I don't know. How do you guys feel about Thomas Frank kind of bringing in his entire backroom team? I think it's only a good thing personally. But let's see what happens, I guess. Just a bit of final news coming yesterday from Ali Gold says that understands Tottenham are in ongoing talks with Josh Keeley, the young goalkeeper who was on loan at Leyton Orient last season, over a new contract with plenty of clubs interested in taking the young goalkeeper on loan. Yeah, so listen, guys, really enjoyed that little live today. If anything happens on this Mohammed Kudus deal anytime soon, I will, of course, jump straight back on live. But let's face it, it's a bit of a difficult time at the moment for Tottenham. You'd expect there to be a lot more kind of transfer tittle-tattle and transfer deals happening. But I think the reality, as I've been explaining for a while, is that Tottenham have been waiting because they wanted Thomas Frank to get a look at the squad. And Thomas Frank wanted to have a proper look at the squad as well. So this is his first week, and then the internationals come later this week. And in reality, Tottenham will have a number of players on their list who they're talking to. They will have a number of agents that they're talking to, and they will be saying to all those, we just need you to be a bit patient. If you're interested in coming to Spurs, then be a bit patient, and then Thomas Frank will know exactly what he is looking for. And although that's a bit frustrating for us, because obviously we want more signings to come in the door other than just Takai, I have no doubt that towards the back end of the transfer window, if not before, Tottenham will be very, very involved. And it's the same reason why I don't think we've made any real sales yet either. The likes of Bissouma or Richarlison and even Romero is because I think Thomas Frank wants to have a proper word with all of them and get all his ducks in a row. So we're just going to have to be a bit more patient. But in the meantime, I will, as ever, bring you any news as it comes. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Cheers, and come on, you Spurs.